Hey guys, Yulani here. You've been asking me a lot for my mirror project demo, and I decided to do another thing because, as I told you, some of you who entered in contact with me, Unreal has now a planar reflection actor, and you can do much better reflection than the mirrors I did before. That required a lot of calculations, a lot of vector math, and it was very complicated to set it up, and radiant texture and stuff. Also, it had the problem that you couldn't have objects behind the mirror, so there was a big limitation. Well, since Unreal 4.12, since Unreal 4.12, we have the Planar Reflection Actor. I'm not using it here yet. This scene is only beautiful because of screen space reflections, but it's a very easy to use actor. You just throw it in the scene and it works, just like sphere reflection capture here. So I'll talk a little about reflections first in Unreal, and then I'll show you how to use the planar reflection actor to make reflections, mirror reflections really. This is a test project. Sorry about the mountains, I know they're terrible. Well, the first thing that's generating reflections here is the skylight. So I have my skylight here, and let me get here to see the details. If I turn this off, where is the effect world, you can see we now have only the screen space reflections and probably the reflection capture. So the screen space reflections, they are awesome because they are mathematically calculated and, well, practically perfect. But they have a big problem. They only can see what's in the screen. That's why hence the name, screen space reflection. So if I move the camera down, you can see the mountains up here disappear in the reflection, even though they should be visible there. That's because they're not in the screen, so it's like Unreal don't even know they exist there. And everything, look, the golden poles here, they also disappear. Everything that goes off the screen disappears from these reflections. The only thing that's remaining in reflections is some of the sky because of this reflection, sphere reflection capture. So I'll turn this skylight back on, effects world, okay. And well, I've already talked about the sphere reflection capture. When you have a skylight and it's an open world, you don't really need this. I could turn it off and the difference is little. You see? You could really live without it in an open world, but inside rooms, inside some kind of environment with several rooms, you gotta use them, at least one inside each room, so you can see reflections that look like stuff is reflecting exactly what's in the room. So that's what they are used for local reflections. Here in my case, I don't have anything much locally, so it's not big deal, but they are really useful for closed environments. And finally, we have the Planar Reflection Actor. To use the Planar Reflection Actor, there's one requirement. You need to turn on this option. You go to Project Settings. If it's not open like mine, go to here, Edit, Project Settings. Then you go to Engine, Rendering, where is it? Where is it? Here, Lighting. Support global clip plane for planar reflections. You gotta turn this on. After you turn this on, Unreal will require you to restart the editor. After you restart the editor, it will freeze in about 39% of the project loading, then in 40 something percent, and then it will load. After it loads, Unreal has to compile all the shaders again. Well, after you turn this option on and waited for all this process to happen, you can use the Planar Reflection Actor. So you can come here, type Planar, and there he is. I'll throw one here. Well, this kind of glitch is just because the Planar Reflection is exactly at the same height as my water plane. So drag it down just a little bit so stop fighting my water. Well, now you can see I have real reflections. So the great difference here is that now, for example, these mountains were screen space reflections. Now if I look down, I still have the mountains. And that's because it's kind of a real reflection. What Unreal does is it puts a camera down there is below the water, below the reflection plane, looking up, so you can see anything that's not in the camera anymore. I know we have a kind of a black hole here. That's because the reflection is just going up to there, the reflection plane. You can make it bigger by changing its scale. So I'll make it 10 times bigger in X and Y. You never want to mess with Z. If you change Z, all the reflections get distorted. Look, the mountains got smaller and now probably they get much larger. So don't mess with the Z scale of the reflection plane. You can mess with the other two, but not the Z scale. Okay, so we can't see very much the reflection of the triangle, just some blue streaks here and then. It's because the planar reflection capture accounts for normals in materials. So let's go through all these properties and we'll go through that also. Normal distortion strength. How do you want your normals to affect the reflections? So if I drag the whole way to 0, you see, even though the water has very strong normals, the reflections have almost zero distortion. Sorry for my English. It's not my native language, so I hope you are patient. You can see the strength controls how much the normal distorts the reflection. So I'll leave it kind of low so we can see some distortion but still recognize things being reflected in this water. So about 100. Yeah, 100 is okay. Pre-filter roughness. What this does, some surfaces, they reflect what's near them sharp, and what's further away, it starts to get blurry. That's what this option does. Here you set how much blurry things must get, and here is the distance where things are really blurry already. So if you set this to 0 and this to a very high blur amount, everything gets blurry in the reflections. Look at the mountains here. It's very blurry. So what you want to do is find an equilibrium between how much you want it to be blurry and at what distance. I like the defaults. Distance from plane fade out. Start and end. I'm gonna use a plane shape here. And I did a screen is a mirror material. Where is it? Mirror. Well, I have a mirror. As you can see, the planar reflection actor affects everything that is pointing the same direction as it is. So this plane is pointing up, it gets the reflection from the plane. So you can see it's not screen space reflection because even though I make that arch disappear from screen, it's still being reflected here and the poles. So it's not screen space reflection. Now back to that option, planar reflection, distance from plane fade out start. What this means is, if everything that's pointing the same direction as the mirror gets its reflection, you gotta have some way to make walls that are really further away from the mirror not to get reflection from it. So you have this fade out start and end. It's a way for you to control the distance of the fade out. So my start is at 60 and end at 100. What it means is, when this plane is at 60 from the reflection will start to fade out. When it's 100 away from the plane, I have no more reflection from the planar reflection. You see, I still have the pole there, but that's screen space reflection. If I disappear with the pole from the screen, it disappears too. The reflection disappears. Unless I get the plane nearer from the reflection plane. Now it gets reflection from it. You see my sausage here is cut. That's because this reflection is not coming from this plane. It's coming from the reflection actor plane that's down there in the middle of the sausage, near the water plane. So I'll show you a way to make look like this is the origin of the reflection. This is the real mirror. Just some things before. You have, besides the distance to control how much further away things reflect or not, I'll change it to show it. You see my minimum fade out start distance will be 0 and 30. 30 will be my maximum reflection distance. So this plane will only get reflection when it's at maximum 30 centimeters in front of this mirror. Okay, I'll make it back to the defaults because they are good values. like them. And the angle. If I start to turn this, it'll get to a point where the planar reflections from the Planar Reflection Actor won't make any sense, because it's reflecting from an angle and my mirror is turned another angle. So it has also an option to turn off the reflection according to the angle. So the further I rotate this, the less reflections we get. Now we're getting only screen space reflections. That goes away once there's nothing to see there. Alright? Well, getting back. This works the same way as the fade out, the plane fade out start and end. It's just angles. So if you go to 0 and 5, once I rotate this 5, no longer I get reflections. So I'm going back to the defaults, because they are also good. Okay, show preview plane. Remember that Z fighting I had because the reflection plane is near the water? Well, it's hard to get to it, but now it's in front of my water. If you don't want to see it, just turn off show preview plane. And it's like it's not there, but the reflections still work. And remember, you see the reflection from the distance the plane is. So the higher I get the plane, the less I'll see from this arch, from the poles and everything that's above it. The lower it gets, the more you see of the things above the water. You can't get much lower, because you start to see the bottom of things, and that makes absolutely no sense. So try to keep it at the water level. Let me see the reference plane again, just to be sure. Okay, that's near the water level. The pre-filter roughness distance I already talked about. Screen percentage. This is the quality of the reflection texture. So here you can see there are a lot of pixels. That's because we are using half the resolution of the screen. So if I turn this down all the way, now 25, this is very poor resolution. You can see when I move things, the pixel ladder it does here. That's big aliasing. So if I go to 100% of the screen, you have full definition in your reflection. That's the best quality you can get, and I recommend to use it if you're doing something for PC. Extra field of view. Well, I couldn't get a way to reproduce this to show you guys what it is for, but I will explain, and maybe someday it will help you. There are some situations when the reflection angle will be an angle that is outside the view of this plane, the reflection plane. So you can make an extra field of view here of maximum up to 10 degrees to compensate for it. So even the most distorted reflections, well, maybe not some of the most ones, but most of them will be captured in the reflection field of view. That's it for its properties, and now for the cool stuff. You can use this mirror as a mirror inside your game. You see I have this mirror object here, using a highly reflective metallic material. What I'll do is, I want every time I move this mirror, rotate, etc., I want my Planar Reflection Actor to follow along. So I'll just parent it. You can just drag the Planar Reflection Actor to your mirror object. I'll name this mirror to be easier to recognize it. So once I dragged this in, I'll make it location and rotation 0, so it's perfectly aligned with this mirror. And now when I move this mirror, my reflection actor moves along. So what this means is, it's like this is the mirror, and you can move it in game too, dynamically, and it will update the position of the reflections, just like the previous example I did of my mirror. But this is much easier to set up. You see, I only dragged the Planar Reflection Actor into the scene. No render textures, no vector math, nothing. Just this. And it's got very good quality. You can see it's doing the screen space reflections inside the mirror. So it's very cool. And it's not very heavy to use. So you can see I can turn it around, go wherever I want, put it whatever I want, and it will work. As you can see, reflections on stuff changes as I move this mirror. That's because the limit of the fade out angle and distance. Remember the distance where things can reflect from the mirror and the angle. You can put this at a minimum. I'll put 1 centimeter here, 2 to be sure. And angle from 0 to 5 degrees. So most of the reflections will be only on my mirror object because, well, get the mirror, on my mirror object, because other things will not be either on the required distance or the required angle. Only my plane. Just to show off that option about the roughness in distance, look at the mountains. The mountains are really far away. I'll make bare filter roughness high, and you can see this white arch here is still sharp because it's near the mirror. The mountains got blurred because they are far, so that's why this is for. That's what this is for. Here you set the distance where things get blurred. You see you can make things start to get blurry since 0. I'll leave that to the defaults. Well, this is it. You can see you don't have to worry about things behind the mirror. Oh, oops, gotta remember to use the mirror to make rotations, etc. So you can see you don't have to worry about things behind the mirror. They're not a problem because Unreal, that option we turned on in the project settings is for this, to not render stuff behind some plane in the camera frustum. Remember to never z-scale the plane or its parent, so I can scale my mirror here but not the z. If I scale the z, everything in the reflection gets messed up, so I'll leave it to 1. One thing many people ask me about in the previous mirror demo is, what if I get 2 mirrors, one in front of each other? And that will be a bonus for this video. I'll show you what happens when you do this. So I'll get this mirror in exactly 90 degrees. I'll drag it to create a copy. It doesn't copy the children, so you have to out drag the Planar Reflection Actor, parent it to the other mirror. Besides dragging and dropping to parent actors, you can also right click them and attach to and look for the thing you want here in the list. Sometimes that's easier because you have a lot of objects and the object you want to parent and the parent are very far away from each other, so that can help. Well, I've parented this, now to location and rotation 0 relative to this parent, and I'll rotate it 180 degrees, so oops, the mirror, remember to always transform the mirror parent, not the planar reflection. 180 degrees, and that's what happens. It's black, even from the other side. The only reflection you can see is the skylight reflection actor generated reflections. I don't know why, but they are the only thing that reflects in these mirrors. Not one mirror on the other infinitely like it would be in real life. But it's still very amazing. And I think there's also a screen space reflection here. And that's it. Hope you guys liked it. I hope you understand that after that games released this Planar Reflection Actor in Unreal 4.12, my previous demo is useless, really, because this is much easier to use, much easier to set up. It has got great quality. It's already in the engine, so it's probably made in C++ and very optimized. I really advise you to use this. And as you can see, you can make how many mirrors you want in your project. Of course, not one pointing to the other, but it's very cool anyways. Well, thanks. Sorry again for my English. I know I speak English very slowly and stuttering, but I'm getting better. At least I hope so. I hope you like this video, and if you're not subscribed, please subscribe. Thanks.